Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Luca Real Estate Show. I am Joe, and I'm your host every Tuesday evening right here in WNRI 99.9 on the FM dial, 1380 on the AM dial. And this show is for you, the consumer. I try to talk about things that are timely and of interest to you as a potential buyer, seller, investor in real estate, because my goal as a realtor is to help you make smart decisions that help you and your financial future down the road. Okay, so I want to talk about some general subjects right now, and then we're going to hone in on something a little bit more specific. Um, you know, Mortgage rates are still elevated and a little bit volatile. I mean, we right now they've come down. 30-year fixed rate 6.47. 30-year FHA 5.97, 30-year VA, the best mortgage you can get, 5.99. It's the best because it's no money down. They're more flexible with your credit score, and if that's not enough, you don't have to pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, which can add hundreds to your monthly bill. So the rates have come down. They're still a little higher than they were a couple of weeks ago. Um, you know, Recent reporting seems to indicate they're going to come down a little bit more. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be selling real estate. But you have an opportunity to really see how much you can afford. And one thing is for sure, it makes more sense not to wait. And we'll talk about that later on in the show. Now, right here in Rhode Island, the housing market still feeling quite the squeeze from both low inventory and softer transaction volume. Okay, the Rhode Island Association of Realtors reported February sales were down, check this out, 13.6% year over year. That means February 26 compared to February 25, 13.5% fewer sales. Okay. We only have 1.4 months supply of inventory, which is the lowest number since 2011. Folks, that was 15 years ago. But despite fewer sales, prices are not collapsing. And this is why I always point out, pay attention to when they say, or we, the talking heads, real estate sales are going up or down, or real estate values and prices are going up or down. Rhode Island's median sales price was still reported at, I can't believe this number, $567,500, according to the Rhode Island Association of Realtors, of which I'm a member. While another local market report showed the single-family median price dipping to $475,000. Now, the difference in those two numbers, it appears to give mixed signals, but let's just look at worst case scenario, the $475,000 for a median sales price in Rhode Island is still a very big number. Okay, so we had a equity accumulation in 2025 of about 5.7% at the end of the year compared to the year before. And if you take that number, make it an even 5%, using only the $475,000 as your median price. So that is what, almost $24,000 more expensive if you wait. So if you're going to be signing a lease right now, saying I'll wait till next year to buy a house, that same house is going to cost you, conservatively speaking, another $25,000. Okay, so do not pause, do not wait, do not delay if you don't have to. How do you know if you should or you shouldn't? Well, the first thing you need to do is speak with an experienced, knowledgeable, full-time real estate advisor. Okay, like myself, 401-409-5030. You can give me a call, no obligation. We can talk about your situation, put a plan together that's best for your needs. Not my needs, your needs, okay? Because that's what my job is, to help prospective clients make smart real estate decisions. I have advised people, you know what, maybe you better sit tight where you are, because based on what you're telling me, it may not make sense for you to sell or buy right now. It's not about me, it's about you, the consumer, because I want to earn your business in the future and have you refer people to me. I can't do that if I'm always thinking about me. So, Joe Luca comes last in the consideration of when we're putting together a plan. Now, looking at the broader picture, okay, economic themes, the Fed is still in a wait-and-see mode because the inflation, while below 3%, is still a little bit above their target rate. And there has been recent commentary that hit the news that emphasized tariffs, energy prices, persistent core inflation as reasons why the rates may stay a little higher for longer. So this, we'll see, because there was one of the Fed governors who came out, I believe it was yesterday, and said that we need to have four rate reductions in the Fed funds rate this year. All right, well, we're already through the first quarter. That means quite a few in the next 3 quarters. Another positive thing is consumer confidence ticked up modestly, but it did improve in March. That's significant because the incursion into Iran, I'm using the word incursion because that's what the president used, was already well underway. Gas prices, home heating oil prices, natural gas prices were already elevating. But consumer confidence ticked up in March, while expectations for higher inflation and higher interest rates worsened. But consumer confidence, and we've talked about this many times in the past, our economy is good or bad if the consumer thinks it's good or bad. It's very much a psychological driver. Okay. Next, I want to talk about the labor market. The labor market is a little softer than it was earlier in the year, but I want to point out, February showed job losses and unemployment going up to 4.4%. But guess what we also had in February? We had a blizzard where people were locked in their home for a week. And prior to that, we had another significant snowstorm that really slowed down my access to transact business. Okay. So that can certainly contribute to the labor market and the softness in home sales. Okay. Now, in the biggest little state in the Union, Rhode Island, we have some specific pain points, some Rhode Island specific pain points that I want to talk about, as I mentioned earlier. Energy costs. This is a major issue. There are prices. I've seen full serve at $3.99 at a gas station in Smithfield on Route 7, but I also see $3.97 here in Woonsocket at a self-serve station on the corner of Diamond Hill Road and Mendon Road. So, we're right about that $4 a gallon. It's about $1 higher than we were before the war. So that, could be crimping people's style depending on how much you drive. Okay. But as we talked about last year, it's not dampening the desire amongst homeowners to buy homes. Okay. Something else with the labor market, minimum wage rose to $16 per hour this year, which may help some workers, teenage workers, younger workers, but it may also, in the long term, cut down on the number of job opportunities for folks in those types of businesses, because paying someone $16 an hour who is not actively contributing to the profitability of a business can be challenging. And so sometimes their only recourse is to work with have fewer employees. And all you have to do is look to the state of California. They raised their minimum wage for fast food restaurants, and after a year of that, not even a year, a lot of the fast food restaurants closed stores, laid people off, and are operating with significantly fewer workers. Okay. Something else in the bigger picture that helps is Rhode Island. We were the first state in the country to pass ADU, accessory dwelling unit legislation. This it made it easier for intergenerational living. You know, grandma, grandpa could move in with their kids and grandkids, sell their house and then put, a significant in-law apartment, an accessory dwelling unit, which is more cost effective than having two households and two mortgages. All right. This has really bolstered the demand for housing in Rhode Island. But we still have, despite that, that was a great step, but we still have housing supply issues that are contributing to the affordability problem. All right, state housing leaders have set a goal of permitting 15,000 new units by 2030, which sounds great, but we were 15,000 units short 5 years ago. So we're much more. However, never look a gift horse in the mouth. That would be a very welcome addition to the housing supply. I know the City of Providence has been doing that, doing what they can to create more rental units and new home construction for homes for people to buy. All of these things are positive steps. Okay, I want to chime in right here because what is not good is rent stabilization programs. That's between air quotes. Rent stabilization or rent control programs are not good. This is what happens. Tomorrow, let's say they say, okay, we're going to have rent stabilization. It's in effect. Well, it's not in effect because it's going to take at least a couple of years to get all of the governmental bureaucratic part set up and established. Portland, Maine did it. It took them, I think it was 4 or 5 years, and they are half the size of Providence. So you've got that lag period from when it's enacted to when it actually takes effect. And even when it actually takes effect, it doesn't do anything for the folks who are having a problem paying their rent today. It reduces the rate of further increases. And what happens many times is landlords will just automatically every year increase their rent by whatever that number is, whatever that number would permit them to be, if it's 3, 4, 5% per year. Now, there are many landlords I know personally and I've witnessed professionally who they never raise the rent on their tenants. We've sold houses where there are tenants in there, and the tenants are paying $800 a month for a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. They've been there 15 years. That wouldn't happen anymore when you have rent control. What also happens when you have rent control, people can't, the small landlord can't keep up with maintenance, so they have to sell the property. So if they're going to sell the property, you're going to be looking at investors who will be coming in. There may be some resistance to them buying a home, a rental property in a community that dictates how much rent they can charge. So then the property values go down. When the property values go down, their assessed values go down. That's the number the city or town places on the property for tax purposes. So if the city can't collect enough property taxes from the multifamily homes, then what they do is they have to increase the tax rate on the single-family homes, who are owner-occupied, which are owner-occupied, which they're not rented out. Now that starts to depress the values of single-family homes. And what this does, folks, is, we don't live in a vacuum. People talk, people read the news, and that depresses demand for these properties amongst the consumer. All right, we have a call. Let's see, hold on one moment here. Hello, caller. Thank you for calling in. Yeah, hi, how are you? It's Joe. Yes, correct. Yes. Yep. Accessory dwelling units. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh God, I'm gonna kill the real estate people. I cannot ring a bell, but that's coming out of my mouth. No, I don't want to get any letters to whistle.
Okay. Okay.
So now, how would I um, see? Is there like a website in the town of I'm in Smithfield?
Yep.
See what the noon is for that would be.
You know, I can get that information for you if you want. Do you have a pen handy? All right. What to do? Send me a text message or call me tomorrow with your name and the address of the property, and I'll get all the information for you. Okay. My number is 401-409-5030. 5030. Nope. 5030. 5030. Correct. So shoot me a text with your name and address, and I will get back to you tomorrow morning. Joe Luca, your humble host. Joeluca, Realtor. Luca. Thank you. Okay, my pleasure. Take care. Bye bye. Okay, thank you very much for that caller. So yes, he was an astute listener and had a question about ADUs, which I mentioned earlier. Anybody who has questions, you can certainly call me on the show, 401-769-0600, or you can call me or send me a text at 401-409-5030, and I will answer your questions. But ADUs have contributed to the desirability of homes in the Rhode Island area because it makes them more affordable. Okay, it can be a separate structure if you have a large enough lot. You can convert an attic, a garage, space above a garage. Um, Lots of opportunities. Now, different municipalities are more cooperative, I think would be a good word, than others. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you work with an experienced contractor who knows how to get it done, who has a team of the financing in place, um, the architect in place, and the contractor. I can make some referrals to you if you would like to do that. 401-409-5030. All right, so we talked about the things at large regarding the economy and things that are affecting the Rhode Island market. I want to talk about something now because I have a couple of clients that I'm working with who are in this situation. Now, it's why waiting to buy could cost you more than buying today. Okay, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. I'm Joe, your humble host. 401-769-0600 is a number here. I want to thank our sponsors. We have Vern Rainville, Public Insurance Adjuster. He works for you, the consumer, not the insurance company. Give Vern a call. He returns all calls within 24 hours. 484-300-8495. That's 484-300-8495. Vern Rainville, Public Insurance Adjuster. And of course, Anthony Betancourt and his team at Compass Title and Escrow. Thank you very much for supporting the show. I also want to do a shout out to my lender partners. I have a number of lender partners that I work with. Of course, we have Washington Trust, Lena DePina. We have Joe Baptista at Anchor Mortgage, Jeff Gaccione at Embrace Home Loan, Ryan Ferranti at Loan Depot, along with Aaron Kloss at Loan Depot. And we have Louis Rondon at Rate Mortgage and my good buddy Sean Hogan at Shoreham Bank. So I have a great selection of lenders that I refer my buyers to, so you can choose the one that you're most comfortable with. So why waiting to buy a home could cost you more than if you were to buy it today? Well, that's a question everyone is asking, or if they're not asking, I'm offering the answer. Should I wait for rates to drop before I buy the home? No, definitively no. Some buyers are sitting on the sidelines because they hear there's only 1.4 months of supply. They hear that rates are bouncing around. Their fear is driven by interest rates, headlines, and uncertainty. And I always tell everyone the only thing that never changes about the real estate market is that it's always changing. There are always things happening in the real estate market. So you need to bear that in mind. And tonight I want to show you why waiting might actually cost you more and how to make the right decision for your situation. Maybe you will come to the conclusion I should wait. Maybe you will come to the conclusion I need to get on the ball and start doing things now. Waiting is not neutral. Okay, it's not something that happens in a vacuum. It has a cost. Home prices historically and in the long term and most recently trend upward over time. Even modest appreciation equals real dollars lost because you have to spend more. So let's keep it simple. A $400,000 home today. This is a price point that there's a lot of competition in these homes. So these buyers get frustrated easily because, excuse me, they go to an open house and there are 75 other people there. They put an offer in and they're 10th on the list. But you cannot get distracted. You can't be dismayed, okay? Because if you have a $400,000 house and you only have 5% appreciation, which is less than we had last year, that same house will cost you $420,000 next year. That's a cost of $20,000 to wait. And you're flushing money down the toilet every month while you're paying rent. So if you're paying rent for 12 months and your rent's $2,000 and most people are paying more than that for family rent, that's $24,000 in rent, $20,000 increased price of the house. You are negative $44,000. Okay. Now, if you're making $50,000, that's like losing almost a whole year of pay. Okay? Buyers frequently say, oh, I want to wait for lower interest rates. I want to wait for better prices. First of all, they very rarely happen at the same time. And you do not wait with perfect conditions because they never arrive. You have to make the decisions based on the best available opportunity. You make your decisions based on the best available opportunity. So if you can find the house that makes sense, works out logistically and price-wise, put an offer in. Maybe the rates are higher than you wanted. Maybe it's more than you wanted to spend. But if you can swing the monthly payment comfortably, don't wait, because it's not going to get any easier next year. Even if rates stay the same, home values are going to increase. At the very least, taxes are going to increase, insurances are going to increase, and you're wasting a year of rent. Okay? Now, here's the big thing. Excuse me. Interest rates versus home prices. This is the trade-off that people, it's like the dilemma. When rates drop, demand increases. So that means your competition as a buyer, your competition increases. And what happens next? Price acceleration. So you have to be careful what you wish for. Okay? A lower rate does not equate to a cheaper home price. Okay? So let's look at a couple of scenarios. Scenario A, you have a higher rate with a lower price. Scenario B, you have a lower rate with a higher price plus bidding wars. You can refinance at some point in the future into a lower rate. You cannot renegotiate your purchase price later. So you need to get in before prices continue to increase. There's a saying that people repeat, and it's a little bit annoying, but it's fairly accurate. You marry the house, you date the rate. But here's the caveat. Only if the house actually works for you long term. Okay? So you need to understand what your wants are and what your needs are, okay? You have to separate wants and needs. I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but what I really need is I need A, B, C, and D. F and G would be a nice cherry on top of the cake, but I need A, B, C, and D. If I can find a house with that, then I need to make a strongly consider moving forward. What is the data telling us right now? Well, national trends, mortgage applications are fluctuating, but still active. Pending home sales are showing some resilience. Now, I want to throw that up against the backdrop of the winter we just had, as I mentioned earlier in the show. We had a blizzard, which shut the state down for a week. We had another significant snowstorm, which delayed things. Despite that, or because of that, inventory remains constrained. Okay? And definitely despite that, demand is still strong and present, especially in entry-level homes and the downsizing segment. So, if you're looking for a home in that $325,000 to $450,000 price range, there's a lot of competition. There are a lot of young couples, families looking for homes in that price range. That's why I refer my buyers to local lenders who understand the local market and who are well respected within the industry. So when a listing agent receives an offer from one of my buyers with one of my lenders providing the pre-approval, that will not be a reason they do not have their offer accepted. It will enhance their offer. My experience, having been a realtor since 2006, negotiating, knowing how to structure offers, because an offer is price and terms. And the way you present the price and the terms can make or break a deal. Okay? This is not a dead market. It's a selective market. It's a challenging market. But it's important that you position yourself appropriately. This is where strategy matters more than timing, okay? That's why I have a great team around me of my lender partners, my home inspectors, and my closing and title partners. Strategy is very important. I'm always, I went to Washington, D.C. for a conference last week and took some classes about the market, strategy, what's going on, how, to position offers and how to position listings. Strategy matters more than timing. Okay? Cannot emphasize that enough. Now, Joe, what are some of the big mistakes that buyers are making today? Well, one of them is waiting for rates to drop significantly, air quotes. We don't know that rates are definitely going to drop or not. We don't know if they're going to go up or not. Again, if I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't have to sell houses. Even if they do drop, even if prices do go on the decline, even if interest rates do decline, now competition increases. Because people who couldn't qualify when the rates were 6.5%, now they can get a 6.25% or a 6% or 5.9%. Now there are more people who can qualify to buy a house. And many of those people are first-time home buyers, so they're going to be looking in the same price points that are already overwhelmed with demand. So again, you need to be careful what you wish for. Mistake number 2, trying to time the market perfectly. I've been in this business for a couple of decades. I can't time the market. I don't know anybody who can. And usually when people try to present themselves as knowing how to time the market, they're demonstrating their ignorance. Okay? Timing the market is like it's a guessing game, and I strongly advise against it. Housing is not something you want to speculate in. Okay? Not understanding their own numbers, buyers who don't understand their own numbers. You need to assess and evaluate monthly payment versus long-term wealth. Okay? Again, if you're paying $2,400 a month in rent, $2,500 a month in rent for another year, add that up. Factor in 5% increase in the price of the homes in your price point. That can be problematic. Okay? So we need to really pay attention to what that they're doing. Another one is not understanding their own numbers. Listening to headlines instead of strategy. I just got to notice my battery's low. Listening to headlines instead of strategy. Don't listen to the talking heads on Fox Business or CNBC, even though one of them spoke to us last week at the conference, because they may not know what they're talking about, and they may know what they're talking about, but they're looking at things, they're looking at data that is in the aggregate for the whole country. We have so many different, even within Rhode Island, trade areas with neighborhoods that have vastly different rates of appreciation and home values. So remember, the market does not reward hesitation. It rewards preparation. You need to have a good strategy. The best way to develop a good strategy is work with an experienced full-time real estate professional. Okay. Of course, I work at RE/MAX. RE/MAX has the best agents, the most experienced agents. We're very entrepreneurial. There are a lot of great agents who work at other companies, don't get me wrong, but if you're looking in the aggregate, all the agents, most of the top producers in the country are RE/MAX agents. Or I should say RE/MAX has more of the top producers working for their company than other companies do. Okay, even companies that have more agents than RE/MAX. So, what are smart buyers doing right now? Well, strategy 1 is they are buying with a plan. They're focusing on long-term fit. And that's why when I meet with a buyer, one of the things we talk about is, okay, where are you in your life? Why do you want to buy a house? Where do you want to be in 2, 3, 5, 10 years? Okay. If I were out buying a house right now, I would have different needs and wants than someone who's getting married for the first time. Okay. Strategy number 2 is negotiating in today's conditions. Less competitions than peak frenzy. Okay. I remember back during COVID when you would go to an open house and the line would be around the block. I can remember waiting in the cold, getting snowed on to get into a house with my clients. We're nowhere near that right now. But there's still strong demand. Buyers are a little bit more pragmatic now. They're a little more circumspect. But they definitely have demand. And there's so little inventory in Rhode Island, it's really exacerbated the whole situation. And then you need to pay attention. After you buy, plan for future refinancing opportunities. Now, I don't know when, but rates probably are going to drop down. Are they going to drop down to 2, 3, 4%? Highly unlikely, in my professional opinion. But maybe you'll be able to get a rate in the 5.5, 5.25 range at some point, or even 5.75. So if you're moving from 7% or 6.75 to 5.75, you can save some money. That's why strategy number 4, work with professionals who understand and can interpret the market for you. What I try to do is, I call it the Luca method, strategic market intelligence. We provide clear, data-driven decisions. Okay? Because I don't just divine this information out of thin air. Everything is driven by data. This is not about buy now versus waiting. This is about understanding your timing, your needs, and building a strategy so you can make the best financial decision for you and your family's future. So if you're thinking about buying in the next 12 months, now is the time to have a conversation with your humble host, Joe Luca, Realtor, 401-409-5030. Give me a call, send me a text. I'll get back to you within 24 hours, 401-409-5030. I will give you a personalized strategy session. We can meet virtually, Zoom, FaceTime. I have my own service that I use. No pressure at all. Just clarifying the reality of the situation and providing the data so you can make an intelligent decision for where you are and how to get to where you want to be. The best decisions in real estate are not based on headlines. They're based on strategy, and that is exactly what I help my clients do every day. Interpret the data so my clients can make smart financial decisions, whether buying or selling. If someone doesn't want to listen, that's their decision, but I provide the data and the guidance so they can make smart financial decisions. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about some other things that are going on in the market. We talked briefly about the whole rent stabilization program, and I was very fortunate last week in that I had the benefit of meeting with Congressman Gabe Amo, whom I'd never met before, and Senator Jack Reed, whom I've met several times before as a realtor, going down to D.C. on behalf of the Rhode Island Association of Realtors and now on behalf of the Providence chapter of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. Because housing is something, we work for sustainable Hispanic home ownership. And we want to increase the home ownership amongst the Hispanic community because they are a very significant portion of our economy. In fact, if you took all the Hispanic consumers in the United States and bundled them up and made them their own country, they would be the sixth largest economy in the world. Okay? It makes sense to pay attention